welcome back to my channel. Now, if you are new here, my name is Tammy, and I am a mental health blogger and also now a new owner of a candle making business. Now, in today's video, I just wanted to talk about this event that I'm going to today. It is a Pitch Masters workshop here in New York City. It is given by Black Girl Ventures, and it is my first workshop as a new business owner that I'm attending, as well as attending by myself. So let's get into it. Okay, so if you don't know what a pitch is, a pitch is basically when a business owner pretty much talks about their business and pitches their whole business story to investors that are interested or would be interested in investing in their company. Um, I'm not quite there yet, but I figured this workshop would give me some insight on how pitch competitions work and also give me some insight on making my pitch deck a little bit stronger. It is another avenue for small business owners to go uh, aside from business loans or along with business loans and grants out there. And what I'm finding out is that there are a lot of companies out there that are strong on helping small business owners. So today I'm going to be going to an all day event. It's from 8 a.m. 8 a.m. 8:30 a.m. It's from 8:30 a.m. all the way to 6 p.m. Yeah, I'm going to cut it off here and I will come back and let you know how the event went.
That is a big. Isn't it disconcerting? It's a great concern. It really is. It's like I can't.
All right, so now that all of that is all out of the way, let's jump into Friday's event. So Friday was the Pitchmaster Boot Camp, and it was from 8 a.m., not 8:30 a.m. like I said before, but 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. And we ended up going over the time, a little over the time, but I'm going to tell you why. So the day started off with me waking up at 5 in the morning. I don't know what it is, but every time I have something planned the day before, my body always gets me up about an hour to an hour and a half before time. So I pretty much laid there for the good hour. And then by 6 o'clock, I was up and moving around and slowly getting ready. But what I didn't think about was doing business cards the night before, because this is also a networking event. And if people are going to ask me about my business, I really should be prepared. So I quickly designed a nice, simple, basic business card. And I knew I had card stock, so I printed them out and I cut them as best as I could. They did not come out even at all. But the most important thing was it had all my information on it, so that if somebody wanted to contact me, they had it right there in front of them, including the Etsy website. So because I was leaving later than I would if I was going on the train, I decided to take a Uber there, and it was at the Paramount Plaza downtown in Manhattan, close to 42nd Street. And it was a pretty big, pretty nice building once you get inside. So I got inside, got my badge and everything, headed upstairs, and we had to wait a little bit because I got there probably around 7:50. So they weren't letting anyone into the conference room until 8 a.m. exactly. So I ended up sitting there in the lobby with a couple of women there. Didn't do too much interacting. One lady named True. She did sit down and she sparked up a little conversation, and we got to talking about our businesses, and our ideas of, because she had a business idea, and as you know, I just started my business. But we sat there for the duration of the time, just talking about the different businesses and how did we learn about Black Girl Ventures, before 8 o'clock hit. So once the 8 o'clock hour hit, they let us all into the conference room. It was about 15 of us. They weren't going to let anyone else in, but the night before, they had an actual pitch competition here in New York City. And one of the ladies, True, who I had just met, she was the last one to be allowed into the boot camp. So there was about 15 of us total, and there was seven staff members. So once we got into the conference room, there was some breakfast laid out in the back of the room for us. It wasn't anything like big or massive or anything. It was bagels with cream cheese, some fruit. There was coffee, orange juice, bottles of water, something light and simple for the morning, which is good because I normally don't eat that early in the morning because of stomach issues. But I knew I took my medication before I left. So I needed a little something inside my stomach to make sure I didn't get sick. So breakfast lasted about an hour. And then at 9 a.m., we were kind of still waiting for two more of the participants to show up. So we really didn't start until, I want to say, around 9:05 to 9:06, which wasn't too bad. So the first part of the boot camp was just learning how to put together a business model plan. I had never worked on one before. I've always heard of a business plan, which I have part of my business plan already structured, but never ever heard of a business model plan until that day. And we were shown two different videos. One was a quick example, the other one was a little more detailed on how we can fill out our own business model plan. After the videos were done, it was our time to sit down and take about 15 minutes to fill out our own business plan, a business model plan, sorry. And once I saw the video, like I said, it made it so much easier to fill it out because you saw the examples firsthand. So I pretty much did the majority of my business model plan within the 15 minutes. I probably had two or three boxes that weren't filled out, but it was okay because they really wanted us to get like a basic idea, understanding of it, and then we were going to move on to the meat of the whole boot camp. So after we were done with the business model plan, we ended up going into introductions, which was basically us going around the table one by one and saying our name, the name of our business, and um, a little bit of something about how our business works. And I have been struggling back and forth with how to not so much put the story together of Lanaciamarie candles, but to have it more structured so that when people ask me about the company, I can just let it flow off the tip of my tongue and just put it out there. So we went around the table, we did introductions, and it was nice to be in a room of other entrepreneurs and business like people, like minded people who um, had some wonderful ideas. I don't think there was a bad idea at the table or an idea that was like, eh. Some of them stood out more than others, while but they all were good ideas. And I just love hearing the passion behind each woman speak about their business or their business idea. And what I loved about the group was it was so diverse. But in this room, there was just a variety of people who have been in business for 5 years, or one lady was in business for 10 years. And then there were some ladies there that were in business for that just started their business, and then some who were just at a business idea and haven't quite gotten off to a start yet. Now, after introductions were over and we learned a little more about our businesses, about each other's businesses, and we learned the whole business model plan. The next step, and now this is the meat of the whole boot camp, is that they divided us into two separate groups, and one was going to go with Joe, and the other one was going to go with Lauren. I want to say her name is Lauren, but um, and one was going to go with Lauren. So in Joe's session, you were going to learn about performance, because part of pitching your business is basically performing in front of a group of investors, a group of judges, depending on what you're pitching for. And then the other group was to simply work on your business story and the pitch deck that you would present to those judges and investors. And we had about an hour and a half session before we had to switch coaches, and then we get another hour and a half session with the other coach. Now, while I was in Joe's session, we did a lot of, well, we didn't do a lot of, but we did some improv exercises, which at the time I didn't realize why we were doing it, but then after we went through the three exercises, I understood why. And it was basically to calm our nerves, to get us out of our mind of thinking all sorts of negative things about ourselves. And it really did help me because, one, I'm not used to coming out of my comfort zone in that way. And two, um, it got me prepared for what we were going to do towards the end of the session, which was to get up in front of the group in the conference room that we was in to do a pitch from off the top of our head. So with each exercise, we were doing something that was out of the norm. I don't want to go into great detail about them because, this is a part of their service, a part of their boot camp. But let's just say I had to act out some things that were said within our circle of people in the conference room. And by the end, by the final exercise, um, I was surprised at myself because I actually was the last person standing. It was the last one, I can't say. It was a listening exercise. And I was the last person standing. So after we returned to our seats, Joe asked me if I wanted to be the first one to present, seeing as I was the last one standing. And of course, my anxiety returned right away. And I was like, no. It's like, I'm not doing it first. So I think someone volunteered because Joe really didn't want to call on people. They wanted people to like get the nerve to get up there and try it out and volunteer. So um, another lady ended up volunteering, and she did pretty well, and she got great feedback from Joe. So I probably went the fourth. I was the fourth person to go, and the last because we had ran out of time. But I was the last person to go, and let me just say, my nerves was through the roof. All the exercises that we had did before then did manage to calm me down, but my nerves was through the roof. But I think once I took a couple of deep breaths while I was standing up there before I got started, it started to slowly calm down for me. So I get up there, and it is the first time I'm ever pitching my company to a group of strangers because while we're all in the boot camp together, we're all still strangers. So, um, I didn't have anything, like I said, planned out. There was a piece of paper there that was kind of like a template for you. But I didn't fill it out because I was too busy paying attention to what was being talked about in the bigger conference room. But I had to come up with something off the top of my head. So I just went into telling the story of how Lanacia Candle started, and we had 30 seconds to do our pitch. No paper, no phone, no anything in front of us. It just had to be straight off the top of our head and out of our mouths. Now, after I was done doing my pitch, I waited for my feedback because everyone had feedback after they were done. And yes, we were timed, so it wasn't like Joe just let us go on. It was timed, and we got feedback after the timer went off. What I didn't expect from my feedback, because I'm an amateur at speaking in front of groups, I get nervous, my anxiety goes everywhere, and half the time I fake myself out of even trying. So, um, I was told that I was the best storyteller of the day, and it shocked me. I couldn't believe it. And Joe said there wasn't much feedback that they could give me other than I just need to structure my pitch, my story more. And I was like, oh wow. I was like, thank you. I was like, thank you, because I didn't expect myself to do good at all. And I know that's something I need to work on from within. But I expected to have a list of things that I needed to work on and say, okay, well, let me focus on this stuff. But to get that feedback of being a good storyteller and not much more was needed, I was pretty proud of myself. I commanded the room, I guess, as they say. And people were really um, caught up by the story. And I could see it on people's faces when I was telling it to everyone. And they gave back the same feedback that Joe did. It was uplifting. It was very uplifting. It was very motivating to actually hear that because, like I said, I'm not used to being in front of crowds. I'm the one that's always observing others. I'm the one that's always quiet and listening. So, to have people actually give that feedback, it was a good boost to my mind, to my mindset. Yeah. Now, once that was over, that session was over, we switched over to the other session, and it was pretty much a straightforward the do's and don'ts of doing a pitch deck. We learned there's three different types of pitch decks that you want to do for three different types um, of events. So I had already did a pitch deck many months ago. I wasn't necessarily going to work on it there. I wanted to like sit down and really focus and put the work in and work on it at home. But she showed us how to structure our story more and how to throw in facts that are associated with our business. So we had some good conversations in that session. And before we knew it, the time was up and it was time to move back to the big conference room. And we were given the final decision and were told that we were going to do a pitch at 6 o'clock in front of strangers, like actual strangers. They were staff from the company who allowed us to utilize their conference rooms, and it wasn't a big staff. It was probably about five people from the company who decided to stay after work and listen to our pitches and give us feedback. We had the choice of doing our pitch deck on the big screen in the big conference room in front of the well, I'm gonna call them judges, in front of the judges, or we could pitch without the pitch deck I didn't have mine ready, so I opted to do it without. Or we can do a pitch to the Black Girl Ventures staff in the smaller conference room. I wanted the third option because I was already comfortable with them. I wasn't comfortable with the new people, the staff members of the company. So I wanted to do the third option, of course. But the option was pretty much chosen for us by the end because they encouraged all of us to, we have nothing to lose, so we might as well just try it. So we were split up into two groups. And I got the smaller conference room again, which was very helpful to my anxiety. And I got in there. I still didn't finish writing my pitch because before we were to do the final pitch, we had probably about an hour. I want to say an hour to write out our pitch. Um, now that we learned from both sides to write out our pitch, work with the coaches, and it really was supposed to be 2 hours, but it ended up being an hour because we were behind in schedule. So while we were in the conference room, going up one by one, I'm sitting here like trying to write out the rest of my pitch, and by the time it came up to me, I was like, you know what? Forget it. I have this here. I'm just going to take the notebook up with me and just look at it to direct my mind right back to what I was talking about. And yes, in the final pitch, we were able to bring up um, the material that we use to write on. I got up there. I was a little nervous. And what I did notice was that I still told my story, and I had a couple of statistics thrown in at the front. So instead of starting off with the story like I did the first time, I started off with the two statistics and then I jumped into my story. I'm not going to lie, I was extremely nervous. I think I was more nervous having the notebook there in my hand, even though I was still telling the story out to everyone. I think I was more nervous that way than I was before when I didn't have anything and it was just coming off the top of my head. But at the end of it, the two judges, because we had two judges and the bigger room had three judges, the two judges gave the same feedback that Joe and the ladies did in the previous session, was that I was so good at storytelling. And the only feedback they really could give me was to make sure I tell where my business could be found and to talk a little more about the candles because this one was a 3-minute pitch. And I felt like while it seems like a long time, it really is not that long. It felt short while I was up there trying to fill in the 3 minutes. But they gave me the feedback, and one of the judges actually asked for one of my horrible business cards so that he can keep up because he loves candles. So all in all, it was a win-win getting up there and doing it in front of the staff. And at the end, um, I was actually glad that I did. You know, when you first get up there, you're so nervous. If you're that type of person, you're so nervous. And at the end, you realize the benefit of getting up there. And of course, you want the feedback. You want to know what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong. So it was a very eventful day. It was for Black and Brown women entrepreneurs, which was wonderful. And like I said, all the women had a great idea, business idea. A lot of them I can definitely learn from. And I'm also a part of a community now. So it's great to have that first step and to think if I didn't buy that ticket and I did it the way I usually do, which is back out of any type of commitment, I wouldn't have never gone through it. I wouldn't have never learned about it, and I'd still be sitting here at home trying to do it on my own. I wish I could go into full on detail, and I wish I could have like recorded some of it, but I kind of wanted to just focus on the boot camp and learning as much as I can. Now, of course, I didn't go away empty handed. When most companies, such as Black Girl Ventures, do events like that, they normally give you something, a nice goodie bag. So I ended up getting a t shirt at the end. Um, T-shirt at the end, and I got a little tote bag at the end. Well, in the beginning, I got a tote bag, and then I also got um, the founder's book. So I'm definitely going to read this and hopefully gain some more motivation and confidence. And at the end of my pitch, I also got a nice pin that says I completed the boot camp. And I got this certificate as well that says I completed the boot camp. So, all in all, I'm pretty proud of myself for stepping out of my comfort zone and making that first step towards entrepreneurship. All right, everyone, that is the end of today's video. I hope you all enjoyed my story of going to my first ever Black Girl Ventures Pitchmaster boot camp all by myself. If you enjoyed this video, then please hit that like button and don't forget to share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so that you could be notified when the next new video comes out. Also, don't forget to follow me on all my social medias, which is basically just Instagram, lanaciamarie candles for my candle making journey, and the silent torch if you want morning affirmations. And finally, you can purchase a candle from my comfort collection, my comfort collection on my new Etsy shop. The link is in the description below. So, with that being said, I am heading out. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your week and show yourself a little more appreciation. So, until next time, take care.